Okay, so thank you everyone for joining in today morning. It's a special webinar that we have today. We are so glad that all of you could join in, but more than that, I'm so glad that we are joined today by somebody I can call as a friend and a mentor beyond all her additional capabilities of achievements in her life, which we are going to see very soon. So thank you everyone for joining in today morning. My name is Devang Modi and I'm the Managing Director of iValue Assisted Private Limited. We are happy to have all of you participate today morning in this special webinar, which is on something that we all have got sort of entangled with in our lives in the form of our businesses not working in the fashion or in the manner that we are used to just about 6 weeks back. And so we are calling it the Business Continuity Planning Webinar, that tools which are going to help you going. And we are glad today that we are joined by Rama because Rama is an exceptional celebrity, I would say, in the corporate space. And so glad that she joined. She accepted our invitation and she's here with us today. So a warm welcome to you, Rama. So glad that you are here. And I'm just going to briefly introduce, because I can only say briefly, we can't really run your entire introduction. Otherwise, we would probably run the whole webinar in just your introduction. So Rama is a certified coach from International Coach Federation and listed as a premium educator with Harvard Business Publishing. She's an independent director of Dev ITPL and also a board member of Governing Council of Ahmedabad Management Association. She has over 27 years of experience of being a coach and consultant of scaling up businesses to the next level. She trained IIM students on global business etiquette for 10 years, and she's also a visiting faculty at IIM Shillong and IIM Raipur. Also a mentor with Startup India and part of the selection and screening committee of ACIC at Niti Aayog. With that, I welcome Rama officially to the webinar. Thank you, Rama. And before we start, I would just like you to say a few words.
Thank you, Devang, and welcome everyone. We're looking forward to a very interactive session today. Over to you, Devang.
Yeah, thank you, Rama, for mentioning that this is an interactive session. We are calling it a webinar, but this is not a typical webinar wherein it's a one-to-many. It's basically a meeting that you have joined in and all of you have access to your cameras and your microphones. And we would expect that, you come up with questions as and when you have them. And so we have a chat window going on. In the chat window is where you can post your questions while the session is going on. And at the end of the session, once the slide deck is over, we will open the floor for questions on live audio and live video. At the same time, we also have 3 polls that we are going to be running during the session. And when we run the polls, you will not only see the questions and the answers on the screen, but there will also be a pop-up which will be coming on your devices, however you are connected, with the poll question and the answers. So you can select, there are 2 questions with single choice and there is 1 question with multiple choice. With that, let me get on with the seminar. So before we start with our slides, there is a very interesting survey which was just published a couple of days back, and 65% of businesses came out with a response saying that they think business continuity and disaster planning will become priority. 59% feel the way people will work will change. For example, work from home. A lot of us are doing that, with virtual teams, etc. 57% see change in the way technology is going to be incorporated into their own business processes. 49% expect new customer engagement strategies, and only 8% expect business as usual. So as you can understand, this survey just came out a couple of days back, and we are so glad that it did, because it sets a great tone for what we are going to discuss in the next 30-35 minutes between Rama and me. And it will also, by the end of this webinar, we hope that you will have a thought process going into your business continuity planning, your strategy, change management, looking at how your organization is structured, looking at how your teams work. And we hope that the tools that we are going to share with you, some of the tools that we are going to share with you in terms of our experience of working from home and our experience of planning uh, a number of clients' businesses, will also help you to chart a way forward for your business and for your teams. So what are the biggest continuity challenges? And so although we looked at that survey, we also had our own survey going on with our clients, our set of customers, our vendors, our friends in the industry. And some of the aspects that came out that the challenges faced due to COVID-19 pandemic range from business strategy, collaboration, device management, security, and you can see the percentages on each of those bars. And so what we understood that this is not something which is going to be a temporary phase. And not only is this not going to be a temporary phase, this is actually going to change business forever. I came to know uh, I came to know of HDFC's plan to go digital, and they also are planning to sort of rename their bank, calling it HDFC Digital Bank. And the reason is because they are doing a mass restructuring of their entire business processes to make it minimal touch, and which means that no longer we may be required in 70 to 75% of situations to go to the bank in person or find a teller or find an executive sitting in the bank. So that's a massive information that when you hear it from a leader like an HDFC Bank. Similarly, we heard that Tata Consultancy Services has come out with an open statement saying that by 2025, they want 75 to 80% of their workforce permanently working from home, which means that massive real estate costs are going to be diverted into setting up people for working from home. A lot of business functions are going to be restructured to enable people to work from home. So with that survey and the introduction, here comes the first poll for all of you. And Dhaval, if you could just run the first poll for everyone, please.
Yeah, here is on the screen.
Great. So the poll would be on your screen. So the question is, what is the assessed impact on your business in the post-COVID era? And you can select one of them. We'll leave this poll for the next 45 seconds. Okay, so I'm just going to end the poll now. Dhaval, can you end the poll?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So let's go ahead. So what should be your business continuity plan? And these are the thoughts that we are going to share with you in the forthcoming slides. This is not a training manual. This is not a training seminar or where we are going to be giving you a perfect guideline, but we are just wanting to set the tone in your minds and in your businesses to look at the business continuity plan that best suits your organization or your business. So with that, I want to hand it over to Rama to take us through the three primary aspects.
Yeah, hello everyone. So the first thing of three primary stake, the first thing that comes is this: planning anything is all about guesswork. When I say this, we also have to understand that I'm not saying that planning is not important. I'm just saying that unless we are a fortune teller and or to a great perfection for that matter, whatever we are planning is a guesswork. So whatever we had planned for this quarter in January, probably, or December, when we were doing a planning for 2020, we all know where we stand today for that. And everything that we had planned has changed. So there's a lot of philosophical part to it, but also the real practical business part to it also is true that whatever you plan for your business, there can be a grinding halt to it. There can be a different way to look at it, or there can be absolutely a complete change, see-through change than what you thought it would be. So the first point you have to remember that it's very important to plan, but also important to understand that it can change any time given to any external or internal circumstances. And that's no reason to lose heart. The second important point that I would like to discuss with everyone here is diversify customer services and product. And most companies have done bizarre mistakes from time immemorial on this. You have a business which is doing extremely well, you're looking up, running high, everything is good, absolutely no need to diversify. And then something else happens and we don't read the signs. When there is a halt starts coming in some or the other way, forget COVID-19, but otherwise also when the halt starts coming, we stop reading the signs. We love to remain in the ostrich mentality, bury our head in the sand and remain that way. So just to give you an example, two of the companies that I personally knew of working for Jet Airways, ancillary unit to Jet, one was stitching uniforms and the second was catering only to Jet. And the third one was actually making cardboard boxes of packing lunch for Jet Airways. All three companies had not only to shut shops, let go around respectively around 200 to 700 people. One of them practically gone bankrupt. Because for 8 months, they did not read the sign that if Jet was not able to pay their employees, even the pilots, and it was in such a huge debt, how would it pay to the suppliers? So even if they could not have stopped, probably to supply to Jet, they did not even work out finding out an alternate means to it. And that's where the whole idea of diversifying customer services and products. You need to understand that whatever is working today may not work exactly the same way tomorrow. So are we diversifying? The business that you are in today, does it have any chance of any diversification which would give you a different pathway? It may be same business, same people that you, same partners that you are doing business with, or maybe completely different team, or maybe complete different business that you have no idea of, but you decide to go with some knowledgeable people and scale it up. It's also very important not to base your customers base only on a couple of very loyal customers. So a lot has been talked about that human currency is the currency today, and everybody needs to be connecting with their old customers and keep in touch, and that all is so very important, and I totally agree with you. But also this is the time to look around for new customers, to build a better brand, to talk to people, to let them know about you. You can't depend on certain loyal customer and maybe those customers are still loyal to you, but they probably are not in a position to buy from you anymore for a while or longer. So what is the game plan for that? And that's also equally important, to put a whole diversification market. Don't put your eggs in one basket. Those times have gone really. And the third more important point is build an audience. And I love this topic whenever I'm talking about it, and even in IIMs. And I always say that, you know, all companies have customers. You buy a SIM card I bought a SIM card as a service of a phone from Shinwatra, and it became Facile, and then it became Hutch, and it became Vodafone, and it became Vodafone Idea. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me as long as my service is going on. I'm able to make a call to people, and I'm good. So that's buying, being a customer. So every company has a customer. The second thing is, does every company have a fan base? Some of them do. So for that matter, just to give you an example, I like Indigo, the way Indigo works. And don't get me wrong, Indigo is not my favorite airline. I'm fan of the way they manage their revenue prudence. When Jet was into 12,000 crore loss, Indigo was 15,000 crore surplus. They manage their revenue really well. I mean, you love them, you hate them, you couldn't fly without them in pre-corona era, and that's the truth. But once again, I'm not a fan of Indigo in terms of their customer service, but I'm a fan of their business practices, a lot of business practices for that matter. Does that make me a loyal customer to Indigo? No. I look around for an alternate airline whenever I can and where there is a possibility. So having a fan base does not make a guarantee that you would have a lot of customers. But only company, those who are able to build a lot of audience for them, where the customers come back to listen to them, that is guarantee that people would always be there for you. So give you an example, Basecamp, which started a remote working concept long back, I think if I'm not mistaken, almost 8 to 10 years ago. And they started a podcast and a blog called Signal versus Noise. And they actually outdid their competitors, everybody who was in that field, only because they were able to educate the customer and understanding how working from home and working remotely is going to work for you. Today we talk about work from home is a norm in last 40 days. And truth be told, a lot of it would remain this way for a lot of companies for a long time to come. So how do you build an audience? It's very important. Start from educating your customers. Tell them about your product. Tell them also what you can do for them. And exactly what I love about Steve Jobs when he said that I'm not here to teach people what computer can do for them. I'm here to tell people that what they can do with a computer. And that's the idea. And that's why I need to make a machine which is very, very customer friendly. I think everybody would agree, those who are on a Mac is one of the most customer friendly, easy to learn machine than any other machine has ever been. And that's exactly, and despite very, very high prices. So understanding where do you place yourself, how do you build an audience also is equally important. So these are three core primary aspects of business strategy that I would leave it. I'm here throughout this session for all question answer, and I'll be pitching back in. Over to you, Devang.
Sorry, as usual, I was on mute. Thank you, Rama. Thank you for that, setting the tone. Of course, I'm going to be calling you during the presentation to share your thoughts on the aspects that we are covering. But so let us look at, let us look at some of the elements of an effective business continuity plan. And when we see the plan from a perspective of some of the elements that we have discovered and what we are going to take you through. So look at strategy, for example. We were not prepared, as Rama said, no one was prepared for this disruption, which has just suddenly come into play. And our plans for the first quarter of this calendar year were different. Obviously, we had plans for March ending, and they are different today than what actually happened. So how do you create a strategy for short-term and long-term disruptions? How do you risk mitigate your business processes as much as possible? So obviously there are examples which Rama has cited wherein you can't really do as much in terms of risk mitigation with the use of technology. But how do you really change your teams, your structures, your business processes to make sure that if there are such disruptions coming in future, God forbid, COVID doesn't go through a mutation, but if it does, how are you going to be well prepared, and how have you used this 6 weeks or the forthcoming weeks or months to replan, restructure, and reskill your organization? Rama, feel free to please jump in anywhere in terms of the strategy, organization, and processes part. So looking at the organization, for example, Rama and I were discussing yesterday. So how do you really prepare your team? I mean, we were caught unawares even with being a technology company. But so what we have done is we set up an internal process that we are going to be on a daily webinar, a daily Zoom meeting, wherein every person is going to discuss what is their day plan, what is their work schedule for that particular day. Also discuss emotional feelings that they are going through, and certain personal aspects of their life that they have uncovered during this process. And one of the things that we really discovered during these 25-30 days of daily meetings in the morning is that even while we are not physically present face to face, it helped each and every one of us in the team to connect on a human level, to connect on an emotional level. And that is something which we think that you will also have to look forward in your businesses as to how do you reskill your people, how do you change your communication standards and communication tools, so that in case of a disruption, and believe me, the disruption doesn't only happen from a business perspective, disruption happens from a lot of psychological perspectives as well. And those psychological perspectives are where, as an organization leader, you would be required to lend a hand to your people, to your team members, and say, I am here, talk to me. So that's something which we think that would be required in your plan as well. uh, Anytime, Rama, if you want to add something to that
Yeah,
organization part. Yeah.
yes, absolutely, Devang. I would like to add here. So one is obviously having a lot of empathy for people, understanding that work from home was never our culture. Whether we are a tech company or not, this was not thing. If we had cyber remote teams in Canada or any other country for that matter, in Australia, anywhere, then they were a remote team. They were not a WFH team per se. So there is a difference between both. And if we are looking at work from home culture for a little longer time to come, a little indiscipline, little irregularity, that's going to happen. And you would need empathy, you would also need strict discipline, and you'll have to create a balance between both. Also, educating employees, as Devang rightly says, educating employees uh, and handholding them through the process of not being able to go to office, have a puff with go to niche, no, go to the cigarette shop and catch a puff or catch a tea on the roadside place. All that is not going to happen soon anytime. So that itself is a very, very frustration building situation. You have to, as an entrepreneur, as a person who's supporting, and even if you're not an entrepreneur, I know a lot of people who are team leaders, project leaders. Please understand, for them, you are the head of the situation. They look up to you for solution. Standing by them is one of the biggest challenge that you are going to have, because you'll also have to maintain your sanity with the same situation. So the strategy also would demand creating an employee engagement strategy too. Over to you, Devan.
Thank you, Rama. Applications and data, and this is one of the biggest challenges, believe me, small and medium enterprises, small and medium businesses are going to face, which is where, because all through these years, you have organically built your business, you have organically acquired applications, you have organically collected data. But when you look at it from a perspective of a business owner versus B, the people who work for you, your team members, and how they have access to that data in this lockdown situation, you will suddenly feel that there is a lot to be done. And which is where, if you are working on any kind of applications running on your in your premises, in your data centers, you may have to look at them and move them to cloud in the short term and long term perspective, because that's the only way you will be able to have a business process which is not constrained by the lockdown effects still continue, and your employees and your clients can access that particular business application as well as data. So do check for any silos. And when we mean silos, these are isolated applications or isolated data sets in your own organization, and which are just sitting in a corner. Nobody has access to it. And now, unfortunately, you can't even go to the office, or you can't even start your working from home if you don't have access to the data which you are going to be needing on a day-to-day basis. And then coming to the processes part, which is again, more of uh, an angle which, somebody can, like Rama, can really add more value to it, is the fact that every business has a process which is starting from customer demand generation to customer acquisition. And those processes are going to need a redefinition. They are going to need going back to the drawing board. They are going to need a reskilling of your employees as well. To just give you an example, look at the logistics industry, one of the most impacted in this kind of a situation. And the fact is that the logistics industry is going to stay impacted. The reason is because you would no longer have the flexibility for businesses like ours, for example, where we were delivering n number of products to customers on a day-to-day basis, and these deliveries used to happen with our logistics team coordinating with our distributors, pick up material from distributors, bring it to our warehouse. From warehouse the billing happens, and then again there is a logistics cycle which goes and takes the products to the customers. It's no longer going to be so seamless, and it's not going to be so possible because there is going to be a disruption in the logistics industry. So does the logistics industry need an entire restructuring of how they are going to be delivering products to their clients, which is vendors or people like us, businesses like us, and then how do we take that product and give it to our clients? All that needs to be relooked, and all that needs really to be considered from a long-term perspective as well. Going forward, the two other elements are technology and facilities. And so as I gave an example of technology, I will just cover in the forthcoming slides. But facility, for example, a very common example right now we see are organizations who, let's say, have an office space which is 5,000 square feet. They have about 100 people working there, is no longer going to accommodate 100 people in the same 5,000 square feet, because you will have social distancing norms. You will have parameters defining how much a distance between one person sitting on a table and the other person or the other worker sitting is going to have to maintain. And so suddenly you find that you can't accommodate 100 people. You have to look at 50 people in the office kind of an environment, and which is where you will now have to look at a hybrid situation. Create a hybrid environment wherein maybe half of your team works from home, half of your team works from office, and they still need to have the same collaboration level. They still need to have the same communication level, productivity, efficiency, human interaction, everything must be at the same or a better level. And so you really need to create your facility planning in that manner. And technology, of course, it's going to be more and more uh, important. It's going to be more and more required. There is no way that you would be able to have workflows and processes without really looking at technology in every angle, in every aspect of your business. So with that, we come to the second poll, and Dhaval, would you please run the second poll? And
Sure.
the question here, what we are posting to everybody is that when we return to normal times, does your organization have a plan to enable or continue a remote work program for your employees? And which is where diverse segments of businesses will have diverse challenges, saying that, yes, remote working will be the new normal, or we can allow a flexible work arrangement, or we can have some of our workers but not everyone, or remote working is absolutely not possible in our segment or in our industry. So these are the options that you have in front of you. We'd love to hear from as many of you who can participate in the polls. So I'm just going to give it another 15 seconds for people to be able to submit their responses. All right, Dhaval, can you please end the poll? Thank you so much to everyone.
Sure.
So moving forward, some of the tools that we believe can help businesses of every size and of every type in addressing some of the other challenge that they will encounter when they start to look at their planning. So let's look at collaboration. There are multiple tools that we've been talking about in terms of collaboration, right from as simple tools as email access. So you have something like a G Suite or an Office 365, which helps you to assign email access to your employees, your workers. It gives you Office productivity suites, which is where you bring in your Google Docs or you bring in your Office productivity applications. And then when you look at these applications and these are not something new which you may not know or have not heard of. This is something which you may already be using. But the difference is, how is the security, how is access control going to be set up in these applications, so that now when your people are working from home and you would have not have to really worry about your data confidentiality or your intellectual property being at risk in any way. Also looking at collaborative tools like Slack and Asana, which really help a lot of team people come together, cuts out a lot of email communication. So no longer CCs and BCCs are required. Slack and Asana bring a lot of collaboration, project management to your teams, and which help them effectively function without really going back to their email clients or without checking their WhatsApp or without checking their SMSs and all the time. Because all the communication that your team is doing is actually on these platforms. And looking at something like an Adobe Creative Cloud, which is not just the Photoshop that we typically know of Adobe, but going into the Creative Cloud applications, which look at everything from website building, lead generation tools, marketing tools, data collaboration, and a huge aspect of every business in terms of sales and marketing is covered in the Adobe Creative Cloud. So these are some of the tools we believe that could be helpful for your teams as well. Coming to communication, this is something that we have really seen redefine our lives in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. We have every time been on some or the other Zoom meeting or a Hangout or a Microsoft Team meeting. And this is not only on business level. Believe me, I am sure each and every one of you have had a personal family meeting or a personal family get together happening. There are family dinners happening and stuff like that. So we believe that yes, communication is going to be a very integral element of every business. However, when you look at it from an organizational perspective, when you look at it from a business perspective, what are the elements that you need to keep in mind when you are bringing a communication tool within the organization? Does it really help? Does it have the feature set to help your teams do video conferences, run online meetings, run one-to-many webinars, also have collaboration built in? Maybe trainings can happen on these tools, wherein you also have a whiteboard application running. So you can do whiteboarding on Zoom, for example, wherein I can just invoke a simple whiteboard right away, and I can run a training alongside the PowerPoint presentation that is running. So those are collaborative tools which are built into some of these communication software or communication applications as well. And security is something which has to be repeated every single time. So yeah, just I was giving you an example of Zoom. We have been hooked on to Zoom, and we have been really finding the easy to use features of Zoom: collaboration, whiteboarding, training plans, webinars, running polls, sharing content. A lot of these things are happening beautifully on Zoom. And that's the reason why Zoom has gone from 10 million users at the end of December 2019 to 300 million users at the end of April 2020. From the cloud perspective, of course, there is, people think that, oh, cloud is a new term, cloud is a new paradigm, but it is not. In fact, cloud has been there in your life since the day you signed on for your first Hotmail or your Yahoo account. And that's the day from where your cloud journey has already begun. But when you look at it from business perspective, how do you today move applications in your organization? As simple an example I can give is of a tally, which is probably there in every single small and medium business or a mid-sized organization running your accounts and finance, but it is sitting on a machine in your office and which you're completely cut off from. So how do you migrate your tally to the cloud, either on Amazon Web Services or on Microsoft Azure, so that your primary accounting and finance tool can keep on running, even if your office space is uh, not reachable or it is inaccessible. And that's just the beginning of the story on cloud. You will have to look at each and every aspect of your business, starting from customer relationship management, human resource management, supply chain management, billing, accounting, and finance. And all of these aspects have relevance today going on to cloud. When you take them to the cloud, of course, your business has achieved one step, which is making sure that in any disruption, the cloud is still going to be there. The cloud is still going to make your part of business activity running, even if you can't really manage the logistics part, which is deliver a product today because of the lockdown. But at least your customer communication side, the marketing side, the team collaboration side can continue working on cloud solutions like AWS and Azure. And then one of the aspects which we think has been really neglected by a lot of us in the business arena is the fact that today you need to have, when you enable your people to work from anywhere or work from home, you need to look at an aspect of security which is related to device management. So how do you make device management come into your planning? What is the meaning of device management? For example, you are giving email access to your employees on their mobile phones. And now mobile phones either could be company owned, company provided, or they could be BYOD, which is bring your own device. Every employee today has a mobile phone on which they do a lot of messaging and everything. And just because you want people to be uh, able to participate in the communication, you give email access to them, which is your company's email ID is now accessible by the employee on their device. That opens up a big security lacuna, and which is where you need to bring a device management perspective in your business continuity plan, wherein now the same employee on their same device will be able to access a simplest application like email, but it is now completely under your purview, under your control. So you are going to make sure that there is a small profile which is running on their devices, in which the profile is managing in a container your applications which you have assigned. So email is an application which you have assigned to them. And now what they are going to be able to do with that email? Can they forward that email? Can they print that email? Can they take an attachment from that email and put it on Google Drive or OneDrive or on their desktop? Every activity is A, audited, B, controlled, C, managed, D, secure. So you are making sure that you are monitoring, you are controlling, you are managing each and every data packet that is going onto their personal devices and when they are accessing your application sets. So as I was just giving one example of an email access, but every single application that you use today on a laptop, on a tablet, on a phone can be managed using device management. And then it also brings in very simple tools in play. For example, somebody is accessing your ERP application. At that time, the device will not allow anybody to take a screenshot. So the screenshot facility or capability of the device is logged by this profile when you are putting such a device management tool in place. So there are again multiple choices between device management tools, and we are not going in depth into those. We just wanted to bring that concept into the perspective that you need to look at this when you plan your business continuity. And finally, we come to the security aspect of it. So when you look at the security aspect, one of the key challenges or one of the key queries that we come to hear from our clients is, hey, I can give my employees a laptop to work from home, but how do I prevent them to be able to uh, use my intellectual property in an unauthorized manner? I'm not going to use a harsh term, but data theft is something which every business owner is continuously paranoid about. And so bringing in a data loss prevention uh, strategy in place a tool in place which makes sure that, again, every data that is going to be accessed by your employees on their devices and every aspect of their device usage is audited, is tracked, is monitored, so that you have an audit trail available in case if you come across any kind of a data theft happening or any plagiarism happening. You are able to track the entire trail of what has happened on their devices. You're also able to restrict the transmitting of data outside of their devices by even a USB pen drive or by email or by Google Drive or something like that. So all that is restricted, and that is what is called as data loss prevention. Virtual private networks are useful for your employees to be able to access either your applications on the cloud or in your in-house data centers, in-house servers. So VPN secures the communication, and so there is no spoofing or sniffing of your data while it is on the move. And compliances. So when you look at security compliances, if you are going to put your application on the cloud, for example, you need to run what is called as a vulnerability assessment and penetration testing on your applications to ensure that you are not just putting your application on the cloud, but it is also secure, and there is a parameter which is defining the entire security around that application. So you are deterring hackers and you're deterring malicious attacks on your application sets. So beyond these three aspects, there are a lot more security aspects which you will need to consider when you look at when you're looking at making your organization secure. That brings us almost to the end of the presentation. We have a couple of slides going ahead, but here is when I would like to bring the third and the last poll question. So Dhaval, if you could please share the poll with our participants. Yes. So what are your key priorities once the lockdown opens and business gets back on track? And this is a multiple choice, so you can select multiple choices, which will help you to kind of think of your business from every aspect and start putting in a thought process. This is basically to help you start putting in a thought process as to what is it that I'm going to do to make sure that my business is going to be resilient. And after this poll, we have one slide, and then we are going to open the floor for question and answers. So in case if you have not already put your question in the chat box, please feel free to put your question in the chat box. And we would also encourage anyone who has a particular experience to share or any particular story to share during this lockdown period, or how their business has been impacted or not impacted because they were already ready. We would love to hear your story as well. So thank you, Dhaval. I'm just going to give the last 5 seconds. And great. Can you please close the poll? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So Rama, if you would also like to join in, please, here.
Yeah, I'm here, Devan.
Yeah, great. So where do you go from here? We started with a survey, sort of showing that there is a whole impact which is already getting measured. We also shared some examples. Then Rama took us through the entire thought process of defining your key elements and why things are going to be important for you to put into right perspective. We looked at some of the tools and technologies that can help you during this. And so where do you go from here? These are some of our closing thoughts that we would like to leave all of you with. The first is establish a resilient culture. So as business people, as entrepreneurs, we are always very resilient in our thought process. We always think, oh, I'm going to be able to handle it whenever it comes. I am ready. I have the guts. I have the ambition. I have the perseverance. Bring that into your organization, bring that into your workflow, bring that into your teams and your processes. And so with knowledge workers being augmented by digital capabilities is what we see as one of the key elements which will help you to establish a resilient culture. And Rama, you also had some thoughts if you'd like to share on this one as well.
Yeah, Devang, absolutely. So I also would go by the human angle of it. For there are a lot of manufacturers, MSMEs who do not have a work from home kind of culture, not possible to implement. How do they actually build a resilient culture? As I said, employee engagement, motivation, that's going to be a part of it. But you also have to start making a growth map of people. Somewhere people need to look up to the organization and say, whatever the time comes, I'm going to grow with this organization. So not only I'm staying put here more because of my choice, not because right now there are no jobs on the market. A demotivated, unengaged team is very difficult to work with. And resilience would require a lot of work from inside out for the employees. So to you,
Absolutely.
Devang.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Rama, for sharing that. I think, yes, the human aspect is very, very important, and we have been hearing about it quite so often. Deploy fast and versatile workplace model. So look at the entire technology that you have in play. Look at how a combination, a hybrid environment of letting people work from office or from home, depending on the nature and type of your work and their skills. And so if they do require reskilling, this is the best time to invest in reskilling of your teams and your employees. Also looking at how your data security and cloud are going to coexist. Look at an ecosystem which is based on social collaboration, and which is again, brings into play the human element, and which is where we as humans are so attuned to working in an environment which helps us talk to people, engage with people, share with people. And that element needs to continue, but at the same time you need to bring in ecosystems which are secure, which are manageable, and can help you as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, uh, be at peace with the kind of access that you're giving to people on these collaboration tools. And finally, build a human plus machine workforce. So we see a lot of automation coming into play. uh, Automation on the factory floor has of course been going on for decades now, but automation of your work processes is something that is going to be essential. Take an example of Make My Trip website. When you go on to Make My Trip, or you go on to HDFC Bank today, on the right hand corner of your screen, you probably are able to see a small chat box, and which is basically jumping and saying, hey, interact with me. And when you start interacting with it, it basically invokes what is called as a chat bot. So there is no human at that point of time interacting with you. It's a chat bot. It's an automated robotic process which is in play. And it starts asking you questions. Okay, do you want to fly? Do you want to look at a hotel? Or do you want to do a rail or a bus booking? And you say yes. And then it gives you the option, okay, where are you traveling from? What are the dates? And all of these are objective questions which it is keeping on asking you. And in the back end, there is a machine learning algorithm in play which is able to collate the data which you are feeding that chatbot with and give you the right sort of responses. The simplest example of what we can do with a human plus machine workforce. So look at those kind of tools, how they add value to your businesses, how they add value to your organization, and how they can help you mitigate one aspect of customer communication with putting something like a chatbot. And there are hundreds of examples which we can look at going forward. Any thoughts on this, Rama?
Sure, Devang. One parting line on this entire thing. When you're looking at human and machine workforce combination, you also have to um, encourage customers of anything, whether you are a manufacturing unit or an PR agency or IT company. You also have to encourage customer that you would always be there, encourage and ensure that you will always be there. So the chatbot only is going to collect data and feed it to a customer service executive who's going to make a call and tailor-made your package. And that's exactly the whole combination, which lets the customer put money on your table. So you will have to find out and innovate thing. And also, just to give you a very quick example, because as you must have read in my CV that I mentor incubators at Niti Aayog and Startup India. I do a lot of startup mentoring. So recently I came across a startup called 99rupee.com, sitting in a small place called Haldwani in Uttarakhand. And that guy makes only blouses for saris. Only blouses. But the complete business is human machine workforce combination. They make blouses in a small place where real estate, infrastructure, tailors are very easy, and they are supplying it all over the world. And you have heard me right, all over the world. And when we think sari is a dying art, nobody wears saris anymore. That guy has done 1 CR business in 1 year. And that's exact example I would give you, human machine workforce, how you put and little innovation blend in, and that's the king. Over to you, Devan.
Absolutely. What a brilliant example. Couldn't have put it better. All right, so this is where we come to the Q&A part, and I'm just going to stop sharing so that, we can look at the questions from where they are coming from. I would also request Rama, if you could also start your video. We could, participants would love to see you as well. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, questions, if any, please unmute yourself and go ahead with your question. There is one question from Shailesh ji, which I'm just going to ask here. Shailesh ji, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Great. So Shailesh ji had a question. Rama, this is where I'm going to need your help. With customer loyalty, a forgotten word, customer acquisition challenges have sent every business plan for toss. How does one predict the business resources planning in post-COVID era?
Absolutely correct question. I have to agree. So what is very important is, I personally think, for a little difference of opinion here, that I personally think that customer loyalty is even going to be even more important now. It depends how many customers have we built. Also, new customer acquisition is crucial, stating mainly that PR and branding, especially in Shailesh's business, PR and branding is going to be your key issues now. If you are not seen, you are not heard, then you're not there. You're as good as dead. So all the more important that how you are going to place yourself in this difficult times. That's going to be your pitch, Shailesh. If you're going to talk to customer, he said, we can do this for you. To make you shine, to make you look better, this is what we do. So if I were you, I would go and pitch exactly the customer that you need to be seen a lot more in the competitive era today versus what it was the day before.
Yeah. So I agree on that, but the question is now, the question is of the resource planning, because the uncertainty in the business is leading to the deployment of resources or employment of resources. So that is a catch, which is where we see stuck in the
so if I get
next 6
get
months.
your question correct,
Yes.
The employment of resources is going to be issue. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. So because if you do anticipatory planning, it is absolutely uncertain. And like in the very first month, very first week, we received some pause notices from at least 5 clients. And we think that this, it will be not restarting very soon. Okay. And while the customer acquisition, new customer acquisition will take certain amount of time, 6 months, 3 months, 9 months.
That's
in
right.
which case,
Absolutely.
how do we go about? Yes.
But the employment of resources of any sort, especially in your kind of business, can very comfortably be outsourced. So right now, lesser the cost of acquisition of talent, it's easier for you. So most of the companies, those who can outsource right now, is going to be a big thing. Staffing and recruitment itself is going to be, outsourcing of that is going to be a big business tomorrow. It already is, but it's going to be going multifold actually. That's one idea for you to think as a diversification.
Yeah, okay, sure.
It's great. We had another question from Rakesh, and Rakesh is there in the meeting as well. Rakesh, do you want to ask your question?
Hello, Devan. How are you?
Hi, Rakesh. How are you? Good.
Yeah, my question is that we as a typically labor-oriented unit, textile unit, unless until the entire force of labor comes into work, we cannot start our full productions. So in that time, how technology can help us?
Yeah. Yeah, Rama, if you would like to go ahead.
No, I was
Right. So Rakesh, yeah, see, for manufacturing, for production units, there is going to be a sort of a migration strategy which has to come into play. Rama just gave a beautiful example of somebody sitting in Haldwani and continuing with their manufacturing processes and being able to, deliver something worldwide, even even when this lockdown was not there, for example. And so do you have a digital transformation strategy in place in your organization which basically starts looking at each and every element of your workflow? It is a labor intensive industry, without a doubt, but at the same time, what are the processes that can help you? If you are not able to going to be able to start your plant, I don't think anybody in the world can help you with that, right? There is no way technology can help you do with that. But in the times when you are not running your plant, for example, are your marketing teams, are your human resource teams, are your sales teams, are they working? Are they able to use technology and still take the message out to your clients and saying that, hey, right now the production is stopped, but we are open for order booking for the next 6 months because we feel that there is going to be a backlog of orders. So would you like to pre-book your orders? And so is your team able to do that effectively? Do they have the right set of tools? Do you have an ordering process or a mechanism which basically takes all these orders funneled from your sales teams, puts it into a pipeline and gives you a project management timeline as to what is going to be a production planning? Is that something which is already there in your business? If not,
Yeah, there is. We are using WhatsApp source to send our printed fabric designs to customers, and we have been talking to all our customers and all our agents. They are saying that the business will come into means in full force. It will come into say June end or the first week of July. But the question is at our industry point, unless
yeah.
until the workforce comes in, any kind of technology which can help us in to run the machines and all, can reduce our labor, that can help us.
Yeah, that's an automation area which obviously that's a completely different topic for a different time. But yes, manufacturing industry is one of the industries which are in the next, I would say, not a short term period, but in the next 3 to 5 years are going to see a humongous amount of transformation. And there's lots and lots of uh, what we call as industry 4.0 elements. So if you look at the industry 4.0 element, which is heavily dependent on technology, and which smaller countries with very small workforces, labor forces, like Japan, South Korea, Germany have deployed, and which basically brings automation into each and every aspect of a manufacturing process as well, reduces the human dependence in the whole manufacturing cycle. Those are things which I foresee that is going to be a very big play in the next 3 to 5 years for the manufacturing industry.
Thank you for your insight, John.
Thanks. There is a question from Victor Sequeira. Hi, Victor, if you are there and if you would just like to, yeah, Victor, hi. Yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I have put to you, how do we function with good productivity level when most of the employees are in the field, technical and sales personnel?
Yeah, I think Rama, if you'd like to go ahead with that, and I'll add the technology aspect to it.
Yes. Victor ji, one is very, I completely agree with you that right now the time which you have does not allow you to operate with full capacity of field staff.
Yes.
So Devang had given us a point earlier. I'll re-emphasize on that. Reskill your people. One, make a lot of customer contact on email, phone, or everything what you can do. But in terms of full capacity functioning in the lockdown, you also know it's not possible. Having said that, and the kind of environment that is coming up, I think we may not be completely operational very quickly, but I'm hearing a lot of buzz around that. A lot of relaxation is going to come, and the businesses would be soon back on track. I mean, I'm not saying it just to make you feel better. Trust me, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But right now, to keep your field force motivated and engaged with customer is very important.
Right.
Day before yesterday, I received a call from IFB, which I use the wash machine and dishwasher.
Yeah.
And they said that if you have an issue right now, we'll not be able to send a mechanic. But we are noting down the complaint if you have one, so we can reach you the moment the lockdown is over.
Right.
And I think it's a very proactive approach. IFB hasn't been a very customer care kind of organization.
Correct.
But this definitely left me smiling and said, okay, fine. You know, if it's good to hear from them.
Right.
So something like that, you need to probably start and call up every customer, even those who left you in last 2-3 years, you must be having a list, call each of them.
Right. Thank you.
So Victor, if I can put a question to you, when you say field technical staff and sales staff, so what line of business are you in?
I'm into banking equipment. So we have the
Paper
banks
counting
open,
machines.
counting machines, kiosks, and various cash, the cash currency chests where the cash move are on our machines.
Great.
So all the banks are functional, and this is the same message we keep giving all our bank customers. As soon as the lockdown opens, and there are situations wherein banks have sent their own vehicles and taken our engineers right from home and got the work done during the lockdown.
Yeah.
But post-lockdown, when we open, the response which they will look at will be as per SLAs, which were already in place prior to the lockdown or the COVID.
Yeah.
And when transport will be possibly at 30%, and the employees also cannot move that easily, and we would have to sanitize and move in, sanitize and move out. All these things which will be a big challenge, because that will reduce the speed of executing calls.
Absolutely. So one of the angles of technology that you can possibly explore in your business is what is called as augmented reality for field services. And that involves basically bringing in an AR backend into your field services application, by way of which, you know, your people on the field can actually look at the machine what they are servicing, and in case if they need any immediate assistance with their senior technical people or their senior staff, they can actually just invoke a augmented reality tool which will show them the whole process of how they can repair this machine or service this machine, be at the same time involve a senior manager or a senior technician to be able to help them remotely. This is something which, you know, would really help any field service application. It is also a great tool which we are seeing coming in play in a lot of mechanical repair services. Wherever there is a mechanical repair to be done, lifts, for example, CNC machines, for example, augmented reality can have a big play in that. And so that's something which is going to be exceptionally useful for any field service businesses.
Yeah, we do it a little more cheaply. That is on WhatsApp video.
Yeah, obviously, yeah, that's a great way to do it already. Yeah,
yeah,
that's phenomenal.
But there has to be a big mindset change with the customers as well, and
Yes.
government and banking industry, or the PSUs.
Correct. Absolutely. Great. Thank you, Victor, for joining in.
Thank you very much.
I want to bring in Jalai. So Jalai, if you're there on the meeting. Yeah. Okay. So Jalai,
Yes,
you had
I'm here, Devang Bhai.
hi. And I saw your
Can you
question
hear
on
me?
the, yes, I saw your question on the chat. So if you could just like to ask it for the benefit of everybody.
Yeah, so my question is simple. It's been long since we are kind of contemplating between various team management applications, as most of us are working remotely anyhow. So there are always a debate whether there's a professional apps like Slacks and a few others, and then the easiest way is WhatsApp. So somehow I never got a clear answer that which one is better, because WhatsApp is accessible and it's on everyone's phone, and then Slack, and it's a free version, while Slack is a paid version, and it's again you have to manage one more app. So what is your take on the same, Devang bhai?
Well, see, there are business processes which will be sufficed with something like WhatsApp. Like Victor just gave an example that they are already using WhatsApp for these kind of remote, maintenance services or remote repair services, wherein a senior technician sitting in the office can get on a WhatsApp video call and can help the engineer on field. When you look at the kind of businesses that you are talking to or you are addressing, I think, and the kind of business that you are running yourself, Slack or any other collaboration tool basically brings a lot of feature sets which are beyond WhatsApp capability. So you could actually build complete workflows on Slack. You can have project management teams and project management running on Slack. All the collaboration tools, the various things that we use in our day-to-day business to collaborate, and so email, WhatsApp, social media collaboration, all of that basically comes into one single application. So now what you are doing is, or Asana, I remember, when we were together in the network, we used to use Asana very openly.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are
And
still using it.
collaboratively. Yes, we continue to use Asana today also. So Slack is one of those newer generation applications which has taken on all of these aspects of business and brought it into one single application. So while we still don't have an expertise on Slack to be able to give you a right perspective or give you a right answer, but from whatever early evaluation that we have done during this lockdown period, Slack is really one of the industry leaders right now.
Okay, got it, Devang bhai. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jalai, for being here. I also want to bring in an old friend of mine, Vakul. Vakul, are you there?
Yeah, Devang, I'm there.
Hi,
Morning.
Vakul. So I saw your message on the chat, and it would be great if you just like to share it with our audience here. So Vakul, by the way, is not only an old friend, but he's been an industry leader in technology space. He's been with global giants like IBM and others. But yeah, Vakul, if you would just like to share your point.
So it was nice hearing, a lot of speakers on the call and a good initiative. So thanks for that. And the only thing which I feel, I mean, being from a vendor side and having worked very closely with the partner community also, is that the uncertainty is the new certainty now. So we all, up till now, we were just running after, acquisition of new business and the revenue growth and other thing. And somewhere down the line, I feel, it's a course correction, We all started our business from the need point, and then we were running after the want. So this shifting from need to want has created us this kind of situation where suddenly now we find ourselves going to basics, which is something which we used to practice many years ago. So cutting long story short, I feel that now a certain level of human touch which we have discussed need to be part of our business planning, preparing ourselves for maybe 2 or 3 or 4 months of lockdown, because COVID is not the first one, it will not be the last one. So we now need to build that factor into our business planning and keep that as a reserve, so that the workforce and other things are not impacted. And rather than running after acquiring a customer, I think we now need to be partners with our client and understand their problem and see how we can work together with them to find a solution where the quantum of business might go down, the revenues might go down, but continuity definitely would be there, and the mutual understanding would grow. I mean, that is
Absolutely,
my.
Vakul. Yeah, I think very relevant points. Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for being on this session today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just going to now bring Rama in for her closing comments. We are at the end of the session, just sort of completing the session in time. So, Rama, if you would just like to come in and share your closing thoughts.
Yeah. So first thing, thank you everyone, those who are still there, for such an interaction. We saw a lot of comment on chat on how valuable you found it. That's very encouraging. So once again, I'll just sum up exactly what Vakul said at the ending line. Exactly was my sum up point also. The human touch is going to remain here, and it's going to be even more crucial to maintain it more than ever. And I was attending a webinar quite a while ago, I mean, almost I think last week with Harvard. And they said that every virus ever walked on the earth, whether it is Ebola, Nipah, or swine flu, or yellow fever, or anything, we have learned to live with it. We have developed an immunity against it. Businesses have developed an immunity against it. And we kind of have, we know now that this is how it's going to stay. So COVID is not the last, first, it won't be the last either. So we need to brace ourselves in terms of physical immunity, in terms of risk mitigation of businesses, and of course, building up human capital along with technology. So that's my closing comment, Devan.
Thank you so much, Rama. And, of course, before we end this session, a great amount of thanks goes out to you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for being here today on this webinar. Your insights are really, really so important from this entire perspective. Then when you look at it, it's not just technology that can do it, but more of insights coming from the level of human engagement, the level of strategy, the planning, consulting, a lot of things into play. So thank you, Rama, once again from all of us here. And it was a great pleasure to host you.
Pleasure
And
is all mine.
we hope we can do this again very soon. A big thank you also goes out to all our participants today. We have had a good number of people coming in to our webinars time and again, and we thank you for that. These are our communication and coordinates for most of you already know us, but in case if somebody has missed out, you may please contact us here. I would like to once again thank all the participants for being with us for an hour this morning. And yes, as Rama said, we are suddenly lost in the world of webinars. We are kind of swimming in calendars of webinars because there's one almost happening every hour. But thank you so much, and we hope that you did take away what we wanted to sort of share with you. And as we had promised in the start of the webinar is that by the end of this webinar, we hope that you have a better perspective in your thought process for business continuity planning in your businesses. Thank you for joining us today morning, and thank you for joining us time and again. We look forward to seeing you again on another session that we host. Thank you once again, Rama, and goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Rama, ma'am. Thank you so much, Devan.